He thought he rescued a helpless puppy shivering on the roadside. People gathered, praising him as a hero. But when the vet examined the tiny creature, his face went pale. What the vet revealed left everyone in shock and changed the man's life forever. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. Rain drummed steadily on the windshield as James drove down the nearly empty road. Streetlights flickered against the wet pavement, their reflections stretching like golden rivers across the darkness. His wipers worked furiously, but the storm blurred everything into a restless haze. Then, out of the corner of his eye, he saw it. A small, trembling bundle crouched near the edge of the road. At first, he thought it was nothing more than debris, washed up by the storm. But then it moved. Tiny shivers coursed through its fragile body, and a weak, pitiful sound rose above the rain. James slammed the brakes and pulled over, his heart thudding. Grabbing his jacket, he rushed out into the downpour. Kneeling, he scooped the creature into his arms. Its fur was damp and cold, its little frame frighteningly light. "A puppy," James whispered, holding it close. "I've got you now." James carried the tiny creature inside, dripping rain onto the kitchen floor. His wife gasped when she saw him cradle the bundle. "You found a puppy?" she asked, hurrying to fetch a towel. The children gathered instantly, their eyes wide with delight. "Can we keep him, Dad? Please." Their voices overlapped, filled with excitement. James gently placed the shivering animal on the couch, wrapping it in soft fabric. The small body trembled less as warmth returned. Its wide, glossy eyes darted around the room, reflecting the glow of the lamp. They offered a bowl of milk, but the little one only sniffed and turned away. Still, the family beamed with joy, convinced fate had brought them a new friend. For James, watching his children's smiles was enough. He believed he had just saved a life. The following morning, James noticed something unusual. The little creature hadn't touched the food they'd left. No nibbles on the kibble, not even a lick from the milk bowl. Instead, it huddled in the corner of its blanket, eyes gleaming in the half-light like polished stones. When his daughter reached out, the puppy didn't wag its tail or bounce with excitement. It simply stared, its tiny chest rising and falling with quick, shallow breaths. There was something almost unsettling in the way it observed them, silent and watchful. Later, James tried offering scraps of cooked chicken. Again, the creature refused, only lapping at the water dish with surprising intensity. His wife frowned. "Maybe it's weak or sick." James nodded uneasily. He wanted to believe that was true, but deep down, he sensed something was very wrong. By evening, James's unease had only grown. The tiny creature still hadn't eaten a bite of real food. It moved rarely, curling tightly into its blanket as though conserving every ounce of strength. His wife touched his arm gently. "We should take it to the vet tomorrow. Something isn't right." The children overheard, their faces falling instantly. "But Dad, we want to keep him," his youngest pleaded, tears pooling in her eyes. "He's our puppy." James forced a smile, though worry weighed on his chest. "We'll just make sure he's healthy," he assured them. Still, as he watched the little creature's dark, glinting eyes fix on him, James couldn't shake the chill running through his veins. Something felt off. The next morning, James carried the bundle carefully into the veterinary clinic. The smell of antiseptic filled the air, mingling with the faint sounds of barking from the back rooms. His children clung to his side, whispering excitedly about how the doctor would help their puppy. Dr. Lawson, a kind-faced man with years etched into his features, greeted them warmly. "So, you've rescued a little one, have you?" he said, reaching out gently. James smiled with pride. "Found him by the roadside last night. Poor thing was freezing." The vet examined the small creature, listening to its heartbeat, parting the fur, checking the teeth. At first his expression remained calm, almost routine, but as he leaned closer, the color drained from his face. His hand froze mid-motion, eyes narrowing in disbelief. Slowly, he looked up at James. The warmth in his voice was gone. "This isn't a puppy." James blinked, his breath catching. "What do you mean it's not a puppy?" he asked, his voice wavering. Dr. Lawson gently placed the creature back on the examination table. Its dark eyes glimmered under the fluorescent light, unblinking and strange. The vet's hand trembled slightly as he lifted the small head, revealing sharp, curved teeth, not the rounded milk teeth of a young dog. "This," Lawson said slowly, "isn't domesticated at all. It's a wild animal." He swallowed hard, glancing at the family. "You've brought in a wolf cub." The room fell into stunned silence. James's wife gasped, pulling the children protectively against her. The little one they had fed, cuddled, and wrapped in blankets wasn't the harmless puppy they believed. It was a predator. James felt his stomach twist. His mind replayed the strange behavior, the refusal to eat dog food, the piercing eyes that seemed too calculating for a puppy. Now it all made sense. Rex hadn't saved a pet. He had carried home something far more dangerous. Dr. Lawson exhaled heavily, removing his glasses and rubbing the bridge of his nose. "You need to understand," he said, his tone grave. "A wolf cub is not like a puppy. They may look harmless now, but they grow fast, faster and stronger than you expect." James's wife tightened her grip on the children, her face pale. "But it's so small. It needs us," she whispered. The vet shook his head firmly. "Wolves are wild by nature. They're unpredictable, even when raised by humans. They don't bond like dogs do. As they mature, instincts take over: hunting, aggression, territory." He glanced at the cub, which stared back at him with unnerving stillness. "If you had kept it at home, it could have put your entire family in danger." James's chest tightened. Just hours ago, he thought he'd saved an innocent life. Now, he realized he had unknowingly invited a predator into his home. James's youngest daughter clutched the edge of the examination table, tears streaming down her cheeks. "But Dad, he needs us," she cried. "He'll be all alone if we let him go." His wife knelt beside the children, her own eyes glistening. "Sweetheart, sometimes loving means doing what's best, even if it hurts." James's throat tightened. He looked at the cub, its fragile body wrapped in the towel, its strange, piercing eyes reflecting the fluorescent light. In that moment, he didn't see a predator. He saw the helpless little creature he had lifted from the rain. Dr. Lawson placed a gentle hand on James's shoulder. "You did the right thing bringing him here. You may have saved more than just his life. You may have saved your own families too." Later that afternoon, an officer from the local wildlife rescue center arrived. With careful hands, he lifted the cub from the table and placed it into a secure carrier. The little creature let out a faint cry, pressing its tiny paws against the bars. James's children sobbed quietly, waving as though saying goodbye to a dear friend. His wife wrapped her arms around them, whispering soft words of comfort. James stood frozen, torn between sorrow and relief. He wanted to keep believing it was just a puppy, but deep down, he knew this was the only choice. As the carrier door clicked shut, James whispered, "Be safe out there, little one." Sometimes, he realized, love meant letting go. As the rescue vehicle pulled away, James lingered outside the clinic, the rain easing into a gentle drizzle. He thought of the night he stopped on the roadside, believing he had saved a helpless puppy. In truth, he had saved much more: his family, his children, even the cub itself.